Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss American Trading Corporation. Thank you for tuning in to our most recent episode of our podcast entitled The Secret War on Cash, taking a good hard look at some of the changing dynamic in today's marketplace and today's economy. My co-host Chris Agelastos is joining us today. I'm sure here to offer us a lot of very insightful views of what's going on in this crazy world of ours. How are you, Chris?
Well, to be honest, I'm sort of freezing to death.
Freezing to
It's a,
death.
yeah, it's 100 degrees outside, but I think my office is set at like 52, maybe.
Well, I'm in my office and I actually concur, but that's why I'm wearing a sweater. So uh, that's what we in Arizona, for those of you tuning in, we need to do is keep things super cool inside while the outside melts to death. So,
That's right.
well, Chris, let's get right into it today. We are going to take a look at a little bit about precious metals again, gold and silver. It's a little different twist or dynamic, but certainly not a shocker. The gold prices, silver prices, the market in general has been dominating the news in a lot of different ways, albeit central banks buying gold,
hmm
what individual consumers buying silver, and some of the forecasts or projections of performance there. BRICS backing a currency by gold, individual investors. The first article we're looking at here, entitled "As the Dollar Falters, Gold Becomes Insurance, Not
hmm
Speculation." And there's a whole world of information just in that title alone. Meaning,
Yeah,
as the dollar falters, it makes for a good headline, but that's a big thing. That's a serious
yeah,
problem should that happen. There's nothing good that we should expect to become of the dollar faltering.
right.
Gold becoming insurance. Gold becomes insurance, meaning like it's going to protect us, I guess, protect us
hmm
against some of these things that are happening. And then finishing the headline, it's not speculation.
hmm
Um, that's kind of interesting because, if you look back over the course of the time we've been doing our podcast here, we've been citing numerous sources that had been talking about when gold was less than 2,000 an ounce, how it was, in the months or maybe a year or so to come, going to go up sharply to,
Yeah.
and some had even mentioned over $3,000 an ounce. Well, several months later, we now find it at somewhere in the mid 2,300 range
hmm
and looking like it's going to continue that way. And that's where it's interesting that they're saying it's not speculation. I mean, it has become insurance.
Yeah.
So we know that gold has always been looked at as a hedge, but tell us a little more. The dollar faltering, gold becoming insurance. It's not speculation. What are they trying to convey here?
Well, I think really all they're doing is talking about what gold has done for people in the past and what it's going to continue to do in the future. Most of our clients that we're working with are looking for some protection from the falling value of the dollar, right? The inflation that we've all been seeing, and our dollar not going as far at the grocery store to pay for our utility bills and all of those things. But what's interesting about this article is it also shows the other side of it. It shows that the younger people that are tighter, right? They're tighter in their budget. They haven't had a chance maybe to build up enough savings yet. They're the ones taking advantage of these higher gold prices and selling things like jewelry that they inherited. They even say in there that the kids aren't interested in keeping an old gold pocket watch. They'd rather have an Apple Watch these days.
Right.
And so what's interesting is it just sort of shows how gold works right now. As the prices have come up a bit recently, people who need money are using their gold as insurance. And they even said in here, sort of as an ATM, to be able to cash out and use that money to help support themselves and their families. The other side of the spectrum is where a lot of our clients are, who are generally maybe closer to retirement and they're looking to protect their nest egg. They're actually buying gold to hedge themselves from these issues. So it's just kind of what I like about it is that it shows the entire picture of the process, from somebody buying to protect themselves to somebody in a different stage of life where maybe they need to sell and reap the benefits and have that extra peace of mind.
Sure. Well, as you're explaining that, Chris, what really, it kind of dawned on me that one of the things I've always loved about gold, and I know I've dealt with several customers over the years, the same thing with them, the simplicity of the asset itself. And what I mean
Yeah.
is that, you have wealth represented in these various forms of gold. It could be a coin, it could be a watch,
Mm-hmm.
it could be a bar, it could be a variety of necklace, it could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
But the value is based on what it is and the simplicity by which, if I have a piece of gold that I want to pass along to my children or ultimately
Mm-hmm.
grandchildren or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
that you can do that. And it's a very simple process for them to just take that somewhere and be able to derive some form of value and valuation and get money
Yep.
for it. You can't say the same for a lot of other investments or assets out there, albeit like
Right.
a stock and the proper transference there, bank accounts.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to get into bank accounts because some of the problems people have right now getting their own
Yeah.
money out of their bank, let alone if you have an heir or beneficiary trying to get money out of a bank. I mean, don't get me wrong, it happens all the time, but I'm just saying the simplicity of which wealth transference happens and the ability, like people being able to, because that's a common question we've received over the years, is how do I sell this stuff? And
Yeah.
it's being looked at almost like an ATM. It has that kind of ease, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
convenience associated with it. So and now in
Yeah.
the same vein as gold, talking about precious metals, the next article that we have here is talking about silver and silver prices.
Mm-hmm.
And not too long ago, one of our podcasts, we were kind of looking at what some of the projections have been for what silver is going to do this year, and talking about silver prices, which currently are roughly about $28 an ounce.
Mm-hmm.
They're suggesting by year's end could be as high, and probably will be as high as $50 an ounce. And part of that is similar to what we just talked about with gold. People are looking to protect and preserve some money, get that insurance policy, put it into silver. But coupled with silver, there's, one of the things they're talking about here is solar power and the boom
Yeah.
there. And they need silver in order to make these solar components, these parts.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is a big thing. In fact, if I remember correctly, a lot of auto manufacturers have even talked about getting into solar energy versus even electric cars, if I recall correctly. And that just shows where they see that demand going.
Mm-hmm.
So with looking at this, I mean, what kind of numbers are we talking about here in terms of the consumption of silver for these industrial purposes?
Yeah.
And you still have with that the investor demand. I mean, how do you see this impacting the price of silver throughout the course of the rest of this year, I should say?
Oh, it's going to go up.
Fair enough. Good
Right.
talk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, what's great is they're talking mostly here about solar, like you touched on, and the use of silver in these solar panels. What I didn't know is that solar panel, production accounts for about a fifth of the demand for silver currently. Okay, so a fifth of the silver that's being mined out there is approximately being used in solar panel production. Well, solar panel production just last year doubled. Okay,
Wow.
so if demand continues to grow the way it has, they're expecting it to double again this next year, and it's already a fifth of the demand for silver. Obviously, prices are going to go up because, as they point out here, production has maintained itself relatively flat. So some of the miners are trying to increase production a bit because they want to take advantage of these higher prices, but they haven't been able to produce nearly enough to stay even with the increased demand. So we all learned in high school, right? Or maybe it was even middle school. Of course, they probably don't teach it anymore. But when demand goes up and supply stays stagnant or goes down, prices go high. So we should see continued growth. It doesn't mean there aren't going to be days where it's down a buck or up a buck, but if we look at this year versus next year and the following year, we should see consistently higher prices in silver. And again, this is just talking about the silver aspect of it in solar markets. Consider that it's also used in all of our electronics. Most of our TV screens, our computer monitors, our iPhones. computers, all these other devices. And then on top of that, the people who want to purchase silver to have something outside of the bank. A lot of our clients are wanting to have a little silver on hand just so they know they have money that they can turn to when they need it, like we were talking about in the previous article. So factor all those things in together, and obviously prices are going to continue to climb overall.
Sure. For those tuning in, if you're looking at your investment portfolio, and there's a lot of uncertainty out there, there are a lot of things that are changing, the majority, if not all of which, are out of each and every one of our control. It's always been a good idea to be diversified, to have yourself stocks, bonds, mutuals, cash, gold, real estate, keeping things spread around. That certainly is no different today. In fact, probably more necessary or vital today than ever before. But when you look at gold and silver, if you have not already done that in your portfolio, you're talking about an asset class that has literally been one of the top performing asset classes over the last decade. And it continues to do so. And you continue to see articles like this that are talking about, it's not just, financial institutions driving the market. You've got industrial uses, you've got consumers. It's literally gaining momentum more and more each day. And so my encouragement to anyone tuning in is, if you haven't already invested in gold, contact our office. You can do so at 800-289-2646. Visit us online if you prefer at www.swissamerica.com. It's in the description of this podcast if you're tuning in. Ask for some information, ask for some education, maybe some better understanding. See if this is a market or a good fit for your portfolio, which I could pretty well assure you it will be. Get those questions answered and get yourself in a more balanced financial position as it pertains to having some physical metal. Thanks a lot for that, Chris. And gold and silver, I don't think, like we've said before, this is something that it just keeps evolving and evolving and evolving into a better story each day for those of us who are invested or involved in the market. And if there is anything else that questions that those tuning in have, we've mentioned numerous times, contact our office, follow this podcast, subscribe to it, follow us on social media. We'd love to stay in contact with you and keep you apprised of what some of these changes or some of these developments as they occur. So until next time, Chris, thanks again. And for those of you tuning in, have a great rest of your day.